Hi artists. So in this video I'm going to show you how to add texture based on this walnut here. Walnuts are a really good thing to practice with because they have all of these different surface qualities that you can sort of capture. And again, when you're learning how to add texture to something, you're really going to make sure that you have good lighting. So I've got like a little lamp here that I'm using. And I can sort of move it around, and then because it's going to pick up all of these different surface textures here happening, you're going to want to make sure that you have at least one pencil and eraser or sharpener. I like this particular mechanical eraser. I use it a lot, but if you have a mechanical pencil, it's usually got a pretty small eraser on the top, which can be helpful. This eraser right here will do just fine. These work really nicely because they don't ruin your paper too much. So when I started with this, some of the very first things that I did, and this one's probably about halfway through, is first I observed the overall shape of the thing. And it's going to depend on how you're looking at it. As I'm standing above and you're looking above this right now, you don't really see where this kind of comes to almost a point down here. It looks more round. So make sure that when you are drawing that you don't move around too much to draw it. So either stand above it or sit in front of it, whatever you want to do. Make sure that your object doesn't move, because that's going to be hard to get back if you lose your spot. I want you to be careful not to put a harsh outline on your objects. Use your line quality, so these lines that we're going to be making, your value, line and value are really what you're going to use the most of here to create a sense of texture. I really enjoy the surface quality of this because I can really kind of go crazy with the line work. And I am not trying to recreate every single line that I see in this walnut. I am really, look how I'm holding my pencil. I'm not drawing the letter A. Okay, when we draw letters, we know exactly what they're going to look like, and we can come in with really sure lines. We're not doing that here. So get yourself a circle, something that looks basically like what you have here. Again, when I was drawing this previously, I was sitting in front of it, and so it kind of looked a little bit different. So maybe I can kind of go back and fix that a little bit. For something like this, I thought it was really helpful just to go ahead and get some value on the paper. I can see that the most value in this particular vantage point is going to be right in here. Okay, and then up in here it gets a little lighter. So I could go ahead and start adding some value. Now I don't want to leave scribble lines. I've got my pencil turned over on its side, so that's going to avoid most lines to begin with. So I would go in and start doing something like that. Maybe get a cotton ball or a tissue or a Q-tip and kind of give it a rub. That way you've got some value happening on the page to begin with. Oh, there's just a little fuzz in the cotton ball. Alright, so I'm going to kind of go in and correct this shape a little bit. Make it look a little bit more like what you guys are seeing here. And I'll kind of flip back and forth. Now I'm kind of using my point a little bit more. And then sometimes I might flip it back. But look at all those lines. Are the lines that you're seeing here in the surface of the walnut, are they straight? No, they're really not. So I'm going to make some sort of squiggle lines to sort of get myself started. First of all, I'm going to put in this line right here where I can see there's like a ridge that happens right here, and there's a strong sense of value right here. You can also see some fairly strong value happening here, maybe a little bit here. Look how this notches off. Remember how when we first started drawing, I said, look for basic shapes. We did that cat head and the minion and stuff like that, and we said, look for the most basic shapes first. Well, if I look through here and look for things that I can duplicate, it almost looks like a C shape to me right here. So I can recreate something that I can name. So I'm going to come in here, maybe you call it like a moon shape or something. I'm going to come recreate that here. Look how I got my pencil on its side. So I'm not making really strong lines. I am going to darken it up a little bit. There's something kind of happening in here. So different trying to draw through this camera lens. Now look how I'm going here. I've got my pencil like this, and again, I don't have to make mine look exactly like the one that you see. It's got all these kind of fun like divots in it and stuff like that. My pencil's getting a little bit on the dull side, which for this particular thing is kind of nice. So I'm going to kind of use it to my advantage, and I'm still going to use the point a little bit here and there. So what I want you to do with this one, and again, I'm going to give you a nice picture of it to work with, and the whole point of this is to experiment. I want you to experiment with different line qualities. So these are really loose, airy. We would call these like lost and found. Like sometimes they're there and then they kind of disappear and then they'll kind of come back. So have your eye bouncing back and forth between what you're looking at and what you're drawing as you're going. And I can even see like part of this is even the shadow, so I'll probably go back in and add that. So you might add some lines, and then others are just shading. So spend some time playing with these lines. They're like craters or something. They're just like cracks and stuff like that. They're just really loose and not necessarily well defined. There's some of them are more well defined than others. And if you want to create some kind of divots in there, kind of like you would think of like if you see a picture of the moon or something, it's got those kind of craters in there that are almost like divots. You're just going to darken the value some. Maybe combine some value with some line. And before I get done, I'll probably go back and darken up the darkest areas. But I'm not going to worry about trying to get that value exactly correct just yet. And then you're going to come back and let's see this area right here where it kind of bumps out. It gets closer to the light when it bumps out. And so that's going to cause me to go back in and pull some highlights out. And now with your eraser, you can use it like this. Like you have a lot of pressure and it comes up to a little bit of pressure as I'm pulling it. We can do that. Another thing that you can do is kind of come in and almost make, if you've got enough value on the page, you can almost like make spots on it with the eraser, and that will add to your sense of value and, I'm sorry, texture. Value, yes, but the ultimate goal here is texture. So this is not by any means done, but keep kind of working with this and see what you can come up with. I'm going to bring this up a little bit closer so you can sort of see what happens with that eraser if you just kind of pop it on the paper. You can get some really nice textures just doing that. So you got to have value on the paper first, and then if you kind of just press the eraser into it, you can get some really nice textures happening. So experiment with this and see how you do. I know it's tempting just to come in and trace something, but don't do that. The whole point of it is to experiment. The point is not to get the right answer, okay? And this is how this art is different than every other thing in the world. This is my way of doing this. If Mr. Bowling showed you how to add texture to a drawing of a walnut, he's going to show you a different technique. If Mrs. Merrill did it, she'd show you a different technique. So this is one answer. This is not the only answer. I want you to experiment with this. The whole point is to experiment. And that's how we learn, is maybe you do something wrong. Like I showed you one before where I did something I really didn't like at first. It wasn't working. And so, well, then I'm going to try something else till I find something that does work. So experiment with this. Try something. If it doesn't work, change up what you're doing a little bit, okay? And see what you can do with it.